A student preparing for test taking is much like an athlete preparing for the big game. I often say that students are academic athletes, and like sports athletes, we need to prepare with a plan. We won't typically find sports athletes practicing all night before the game, getting very little sleep, or eating poorly. So for my academic athletes, don't do these things either. The first step in preparing for the big exam, whether a unit exam over 3 to 4 chapters or a final exam, is to divide your study time over several days. If you viewed the time management video, you will recall that we want study time divided into several 45 to 50-minute sessions with 10 to 15-minute breaks between those sessions. Face-to-face students and online students will need to use the same strategy. So get out your calendar, your cell phone, or your PDA and think about when your next exam will be. Put that date on your calendar and let's work backward to develop a test-taking plan for you. Four days before your exam, it's important to get your study area organized. Find your books, handouts, calculator, pencils, and so on. Combine all notes on each topic together. Complete assignments and reading that are not done yet. 3 days before your exam, you want to divide 4 hours of study time into 2-hour sessions with breaks on the hour. This is when you want to begin to study. What you study and how you study will vary by subject and by student. Some ways to get started, though, are to compare your lecture notes to your reading notes. Try to recall the main headings of chapters or remember subheadings and the main ideas of each of them. Are you taking an essay exam or anticipating essay questions? 2 days before your exam is the day to practice answers to the essays. You can do this by creating a word outline from a practice essay. You should also review any material that you haven't completely learned at this point. 1 day before the exam, review note cards and outlines, and practice answering possible test questions that you have written. Try to rest and relax. You've made it to exam day. Remember that a test is an opportunity to show your instructor all that you have learned. Don't study 1 to 1.5 hours before the exam. Arrive early with pens and pencils and try to relax. So how do you study? As we have mentioned before, a good way to use lecture notes is to compare them to your reading notes. Topics that are stressed in both areas will likely be found on your test. Think of the headings and subheadings of your textbook. Can you recall the details? Turn these headings into questions and see if you can give the correct answer. Are you studying terms, formulas, or other facts? Try using 3x5 cards to make your own flashcards. You can also write an outline of each section of a chapter, or if you prefer, write a summary of the sections. You've used your 4-day study plan and now arrive at exam day. If there is any information that you need to remember briefly, such as a formula, write that information on your test. This quickly gets that fact out of your head and onto your paper for later. Be sure to read the directions carefully. Glance through the whole test and plan your time accordingly. Allow time at the end to recheck answers. Some students prefer to write the essays first. Remember, there are no rewards for being the first person done. Generally, The more points a question is worth, the more time you will need to use on that question. Answer the questions you know first. This builds your confidence and will leave you with more time for the more challenging questions. Be alert to qualifying words such as one, all, and generally. Be aware of questions that might have information that answer other questions. And be sure to understand what the question is asking. After your test is graded and returned, evaluate. First, try to determine why you got wrong, what you got wrong. Was it a result of poor preparation? Did you not answer the question that was being asked? Did you misread the directions? Did you accurately predict the type of test questions that would be asked? As soon as possible, check on the material that you were in doubt about. If you see the same information again, you'll be prepared.